soccer fans. Welcome to a special edition of the ETO podcast. This is the Guardianes 2020 preview. I'm your host, Samara Pérez, and joining me from our headquarters in Bristol, Connecticut are our good friends, Super Mojado and Joe Rodríguez. Welcome, guys. Super, ¿cómo estás?
Ready, Samara. Muy bien. Aquí, listo para un torneo más.
Joe?
I'm doing great, Samara. Thank you very much for having us. Really excited to talk about the upcoming Guardianes season.
Awesome. I'm super excited as well to have you guys on today's show to discuss the return of Liga MX after a 4-month pause due to the coronavirus pandemic. Now, this tournament is a special one as it was renamed Guardianes 2020 in honor of the healthcare workers and for their service and sacrifice. So huge thanks and shout outs to them. All right, so we're kicking off with the latest news in the league. Moments earlier, TUDN reported that the inaugural match between Atletico San Luis and FC Juárez, which was set to take place July 23rd, has been postponed and rescheduled to July 27th due to 10 positive cases of COVID-19 in Bravos. Guys, because of the virus and cases still rising amongst teams, how do you see the tournament playing out, Joe?
Well, it's going to be extremely tough if the cases keep rising for the tournament to go on. The safety of the players, obviously, is the most important thing. And at the end of the day, Super, I think that, the players definitely are going to get anxious. I think that they're going to get concerned. So if the league doesn't become extra precautious, more than what they already are, then the tournament could be in jeopardy.
Yes, yo, definitely. I agree with you. I think that we haven't even started, and, more and more cases keep coming. Seguimos descubriendo nuevos casos, and I think that it's just crazy, man. We knew all this all along. La pandemia is not over. There's no vaccine. Nothing has changed. So I think that it's gonna be extremely difficult to play this tournament because I don't think that it's over for the players either. More players, I think they're gonna become infected.
That's right. It's still, ongoing situation. And, hopefully they take all the precautions and nobody else comes out positive of the virus. All right. Now, before we take a look ahead to Guardianes 2020, let's take a look back at the 2020 Clausura, which stopped at the 10th round with Cruz Azul sitting at the top of the table. Super, if the tournament hadn't been interrupted, how do you believe the season would have ended for Los Cementeros?
Well, they were doing really great, Super Líderes. They were almost clinched a playoff spot so early in the tournament that I think it would have been good. They would have been in Liguilla. They would have done a great thing. But I think that curse that they're dragging is just too big for them, and it would have been more of the same, them doing a great tournament but failing at the end.
I have to agree wholeheartedly with Super Mojado. I think that one way or another, Cruz Azul would have figured out a way to get a Cruz Azuleada. It's just unavoidable for them, right? They figured out one way or another to just put their foot in their mouth. And I think last year they probably would have finished, they would have made it all the way to the semifinals, maybe even the finals. But then once there, something would have happened. That's just the thing that ends up following them. So yeah, I mean, long story short, I think Super and I are in agreement with that one. Pobres Cruz Azulinos.
Although, Joe, that they've been invictus and they play 5 games in this Copa por Mexico tournament. So who knows? They lifted the championship. So who knows? Maybe
you're talking about the little
fans could think about.
You're talking about the little tiny baby cup.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
I know, but I know, but what I'm saying is that if they would have continued the tournament, who knows? Maybe it could have been the Liga MX that they would have lifted.
Okay.
We'll never know.
We'll
We'll
never
never
exactly.
know.
We'll never know.
Well, guys, they are coming off a hot run with a streak of 15 games undefeated, and it seems like the curse has been broken as they crown themselves Copa GNP por México champions. Now, speaking of champions, let's talk about the last Liga MX champs, Rayados, who were having kind of like a championship hangover because they won 0 games. They had 5 draws, and on top of that, they were at the bottom of the table. Now, what do you believe Monterrey would have had to do to turn the season around, Joe?
I don't think nothing could have avoided Monterrey's I can't even say Monterrey's fate. They were doomed. They were doomed because there was a lot of distractions that they were dealing with and facing with. Obviously, the biggest one was Pizarro. That saga of whether or not he was going to leave, how much money they were going to get, and if he was going to go to Miami, Europe, you name it. So I just don't think that Monterrey was going to turn their season around at all. They probably just saw that season as a wash. And at the end of the day, they were just like, you know what? This season's over with. It's not like we're going to get relegated. So they just kind of like figured that it was better just to put that season behind them and, start thinking about this upcoming season. And then obviously we know what happened with COVID.
Yeah, I think that coming to week 10 with no wins, it's just, you're like you said, you're doomed. I don't think that they could have turned that tournament around and make it to the playoffs. It would have been extremely difficult, almost impossible. So, but I don't know what happened. Maybe Mohamed lost his touch, but they were doomed.
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed for the fans seeing them at the bottom of the table after they were crowned champions. So, guys, let's move on to discussing Las Chivas Rayadas del Guadalajara, who presumably spent at least $36 million on 7 player acquisitions last season. Now, this is according to a report from Fútbol Total. Now, thinking like a GM, do you believe it was worth spending all that money and seeing how the season turned out pre-COVID, and why? Super?
Well, I think they were doing great things. They were in 5th place, aiming towards a Liguilla that they haven't gotten in since the last 17. That was would have been a good achievement for Tena. But I think it was more because of his style of play, that he was using the players that he had been working with for so long, and they were just not putting their guard down. And the new players didn't, not necessarily that meet his expectations, but that the players that were there before already were causing them a hard trouble. They would not put their guard down, and that's why I think that it wasn't worth the $36 million. Not because they're not good players, but because of Tena's style of play.
Well, I don't agree with whoever's giving you this round of applause, Super Mojado. To me, I think that Chivas ended up spending way too much money, dude. Way too much money. And the return of investment obviously did not pay off. And the one player, obviously, that I have to point out is Uriel Antuna. $12 million or so, right? Those are the reports that circulated about how much money Chivas ended up paying for him. And obviously, there's no return. I mean, Antuna, he's a nice guy, but he just was not living up to the hype, the overhype that, he created because he was playing against teams like Haiti, among others. So, and then also, looking at El Pocho Guzman, right? That guy, for example, could have been a key player for Chivas, but now he's in a limbo. I don't even know what's going on with him. I don't even know if he's going to go back or if he's going to go back to Pachuca or go somewhere else. But another player that they paid over $10 million for. So for me, the amount of money, as a GM, the amount of money that Chivas paid for these players last season, not worth it.
Yeah, that didn't ended up happening though, Joe. The Pocho Guzman went back to Pachuca. and they returned the money that they had initially given to, because it was not a full payment that they did for El Pocho. So they ended up giving a whatever, down payment they put for the player, and now they're trying to renegotiate him. So we'll see what happens with that. And for Antuna, it just goes to show you, man, Manchester City did, an excellent sale.
I thought you were gonna say. I thought you were gonna say they did an excellent job at scouting him.
All right, we're gonna have to wait and see how Las Chivas do for this Guardianes 2020 season. All right, now what do y'all think? What do you guys think about the newest team in Liga MX, Mazatlán F.C., who replaced Monarcas Morelia amid controversy and created quite the buzz on social media? What would it take to see Paco Palencia and his men reach a Liguilla? Joe?
Only a miracle. That's what it's going to take. A miracle for Paco Palencia and Mazatlán F.C. to make it to the Liguilla. Yes, I know that there are 12 teams in the upcoming Liguilla, and that's 66% of the field in Liga MX. However, Mazatlán F.C., they're going to be at the very bottom of the table. I do not see them making it to the Liguilla. Paco Palencia, again, as I mentioned, he's going to have his hands full. They just don't have, I believe, the players necessary in order for them to be competitive. So, again, only a miracle in my book is probably going to put Mazatlan in the Liguilla.
Well, I think that, yes, they had a very difficult time in this torneo por Mexico, and they didn't win one game. They lost all of them. But, I'm sorry, they tied one and they lost the other two. Right. But I think that with a lot of work, Palencia can do a good job. I think that he took over this Morelia old team, and I don't think Morelia was such a bad team. It's not one of the worst teams in Liga MX. He was always a team that was in the media tabla, and.
Well, how many players did they take, Super? How many players?
But I think like 80% of the team stayed. So I think that, like I said, Morelia has been quietly always fighting Liguilla spots. So now there's 12 spots, Joe. I definitely think that Mazatlan can do this now.
Look, the one thing that Morelia is definitely going to do is bring the banda, right? La Banda Recodo is going to be there. The fans are definitely excited. And look, at the end of the day, I want them to perform. I was one of those, people that was just like, kind of like, oh, like this is kind of cool. You know what I mean? Coastal City, a team from Sinaloa. They had before Dorados as well, right? But Mazatlan just brings like a different flavor. And I think that it's a good thing for the league. Their whole social media shenanigans, it's a whole nother story. But hey, you know what? At the end of the day, they got to do what they got to do in order for them to sell. So kudos to them for that.
Yeah, for a moment there, though, like I thought they were not even going to score their first historic goal. So it's going to be exciting to see what this brand new team brings for the season. And it's going to be fun having to celebrate con la banda. Okay, guys, let's turn to coaches now. As we all know, the Mexican League is notorious for getting rid of a coach or two as the season picks up. So which coach do you guys believe will face the most pressure in providing results this upcoming season? Super.
Well, there's a few new coaches in this tournament, and I think that one of them that is going to have a hard time would be the guy from Querétaro. He's Alex. Help me out here, Joe.
Alex Diego.
His name is Samara. I think that he's only 35 years old.
Yeah.
35 years old and brand new to this Liga MX. I think that, with the way that Liga MX is, that if you don't get resultados in the first 3 or 4 games, you could be out.
I'm sorry, Super. I have to agree with the characters here because I have to agree with them, dude, because Alex Diego, again, you mentioned brand new coach, dude, right? So he's not going to have the same type of pressure as a coach that's more tenure and has more experience. So in my opinion, here's what I think. I think that if it wasn't for COVID-19 and the fact that he actually contracted it, Luis Fernando Tena would have been the one that I would have picked, hands down. However, he's going to get a little bit of clemency, I think, because of that. and we don't know exactly when he's going to be back and so forth. That being said, I think that ultimately it's going to be Robert Dante Siboldi, the manager with the most pressure. So everybody's going to be looking at me like, wow, what do you mean? He's won 15 or has not lost in 15 games, et cetera, et cetera. But the truth of the matter is that all it takes is for him to, lose his first 2 to 3 games or not win. And, todos los vultures are going to be like, Siboldi, where are the results? So that's why I think that, despite having achieved so much success in this little run, and this actually not little run, in this very long run, it means nothing if the first 2-3 games of the season he does not get results.
Come on, Joe.
Well, speaking of Siboldi and Cruz Azul, they're going to be taking on America in Week 12 of the competition. Now, let's take a look at our pick for the must-watch games of the season. Now, starting off Week 6 with America and Monterrey in what's going to be a rematch of the 2019 Apertura Final. Then in Week 11, the Clásicos begin. We have El Super Clásico. Week 12, El Clásico Regio. Also Week 12, the one we already mentioned, El Clásico Joven. Week 14, El Clásico Capitalino, followed by El Clásico Tapatío. Now, guys, what games are you looking forward to watching?
Well, obviously, it would be the El Super Clásico. Is the game that paralyzes the whole country, and everyone, either take time work or skip school just to on fiesta mode all day long. So I definitely think it's El Super Clásico for me, anyways.
Well, I have to agree with El Super Clásico obviously brings most of us the most joy. To me personally, that's the one that I'm always excited. But if I had to pick another one, I think it would be El Clásico Joven between América and Cruz Azul, because after that beatdown that Cruz Azul handed Las Águilas in the Copa for Mexico, I think that Piojo Herrera and his boys are going to be extremely hungry for revenge. So it could get a little enticing. It's towards the latter part of the season, right? Until Week 12, but regardless, I think we all have to circle that matchup because things could get extremely interesting, especially if both teams are playing really good. And with the history, man, we could definitely get fireworks.
Right. So taking a look at our picks, we see that America is on there for 4 games. So let's take a closer look at Las Águilas. We see that their last 6 of 7 games are against pretty competitive teams. How much pressure does Piojo and his men have in starting off the season off on the right foot, considering their final stretch? Super.
Well, I think the Piojo is not going to be worried so much about starting off with the right foot. He's always managed to be a coach that either if it's at the beginning or the end, he always has to play to win because todos los equipos, they play to beat América because it's un equipo grande, just like Chivas and Cruz Azul. Every team wants to beat those teams. So for Piojo, he has to play good, try to play good the whole tournament.
Well, Super, I think that the pressure is going to be pretty high. Only because if you look at the games, right, it's going to be Chivas, Cruz Azul, and Pumas, all clásicos. And regardless of how those teams are in La Tabla, it's not going to matter because at the end of the day, those games are always intense. Those games are always competitive. So think about this. If America does not get results in the first part of the season and then they have to play this stretch of games, they could be in serious trouble. So I think they are going to be pressured into getting points, especially, again, diving even deeper if you get maybe the first 1, 2, or 3 games where they're not getting results. So the pressure keeps mounting. And it doesn't matter that you're Piojo Herrera. It doesn't matter what coach you are. You could be, the greatest coach in the world. It doesn't matter which coach you are, right? Results are obviously the most important thing.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, Joe. But there's always pressure in those teams. There's never not, little pressure for them. There's always, and like you said, it doesn't matter if it's Piojo or any other coach. I think that just coaching those teams, Cruz Azul, Chivas, Pumas, America, there's always pressure, beginning or end. It doesn't matter if your calendar looks, like you have weak teams at the beginning and the strongest teams at the end. No, you always have the pressure on those kind of teams.
Right. Good results are always expected in big teams like that, I believe. All right, guys, we have 2 topics left for the show. The time has just flown by. Now, I want
Habla mucho el súper, Habla mucho el súper.
Oh, my God. I want you guys to think of who the dark horse of the tournament is going to be. Joe, ¿quién crees?
I know that I'm going to get some crap from Super Mojado for saying this, but I think that for me, I see Los Pumas de la UNAM as the dark horse of the tournament. Yes, Super. I know that Pumas is one of the big 4, and they're supposed to be there all the time, but they haven't. They haven't been there all the time, So that's why I think they're going to be the dark horse who's going to be able to, they're probably going to end up making like this really nice run. And I could see them making at least to the semifinals and potentially the final as well if Cruz Azul or Chivas do not end up making it. So, toma.
Yeah, man. But come on, Joe. I mean, you cannot put uno de los grandes as a dark horse because they are expected to be always in La Liguilla.
¿Qué te dije, Samara?
So a dark horse to me is always like that, the underdog. Those teams that are always at the bottom, that never make it to Liguilla, that just could just surprise everyone and make it, into Liguilla. And just because of that reason, I would pick Mazatlan. They were like I said, a decent team as Morelia. They were like a team that was quietly always making it into Liguilla spots. So to me, nobody gives a cent for them right now, but I think Mazatlan will be making it to Liguilla, especially having those 12 spots.
Super, we already talked about this, man. Mazatlan is not going to make it. Only Americo, and even then, if they're lucky and they have Americo, then they'll make it to the Liguilla. And going back to your analogy of the dark horses, all those bottom of the table teams, those aren't even dark horses. Those are like desnutrido horses. They're not even, regular old dark horses, dude. So
don't let the fans hear you, man. Te van a linchar. Oh, man.
Okay, guys. Moving on. Last but not least, I want to know your predictions. Who do you think is going to take it all in Guardianes 2020? Joe.
She's like, Joe. No, ni más. Que vaya super.
I want to hear yours.
All right. So, okay, here's the way that I see things breaking down. I think that Chivas and Cruz Azul are going to meet at the final. We're going to get a rematch of that little baby tiny cup for Mexico. And this time they're going to lift, one of those teams is going to lift a bigger one. But I see Cruz Azuleadas finally coming to an end. The curse se quebra. It's over. I know that the Chivas fans are going to hate me for saying that. And I just think that Cruz Azul actually, they're going to do it. And we'll record this, right? And then we're going to play it back. But, Super, you and I should get a little wager going. That's what I think.
Cálmate, Walter Mercado. Cálmate. You think that this curse is gonna end? No, man. I don't think so. But anyways, I do see them reaching the final, but against León, and I see finally Nacho Ambriz lifting that trophy with León. So that's my prediction.
I'll give you credit for that. That's a good pick.
All right, guys. Remember that the Liga MX kicks off Friday now instead of Thursday with Los Rayos del Necaxa against Tigres and also Mazatlán F.C. making their debut. So excited for that. Okay, now, guys, tell me and the viewers your final words and how people can find you on social media. Super.
Well, everyone can find me at El Super Mojado Oficial in all the platforms. Just look for me. I'm there. And just like I would say, let's just hope that this tournament can happen without major incidents. And, because we've seen that we already started with the left foot with all these cases in a bunch of teams. So this pandemic is not over. I think that we all still have to try to stay safe and just hopefully La Liga MX will do the same. Try to protect the players and everyone surrounding this Liga. So like I said.
Well said, Super. I have to wholeheartedly agree with you. I think that the league has to, make sure that they protect their players, right? Because at the end of the day, those are the ones that make them money, But it goes beyond money. It goes beyond that because their health is the most important thing. Their families. So if they see that these things are getting out of hand, they just have to put their foot down, end the season regardless. Hey, let all the billionaires lose, right? Let all those millionaire owners lose the money. And at the end of the day, it's not going to be worth it. So I just hope that everybody ends up staying safe. And then I want to thank all of our viewers and our followers. Little by little, we're growing and growing, becoming the entity to go to for Liga MX and Mexican soccer coverage in English. So we really want to thank all of you guys who have been following us for, the last couple of years. It's been quite the ride. So I just want to, thank everybody. And don't forget to watch the podcast, too, every Monday and Thursday. I had to get the plug-in, Samara. Oh, yeah, and you know what? Hold on, I got one more. Yeah, follow me at Worldwide Mexican, por favor.
Hey. Yeah, that's right. In the end, we hope that everybody, players, staff, everybody involved, stay safe and the tournament keeps going and we get to see a champion. All right, thank you, Super and Joe, for joining me today. And thank you to everyone for tuning in to your number one soccer source in English. Don't forget to follow us on social media. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as El Tri Online. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thank you once again on behalf of Super and Joe. I'm Samara Pérez. Stay safe, and until next time.